Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going? So we're gonna discuss how to defend against the rally, and of course, you guys are probably wondering, how do I do that? Like, what exactly do you mean by defending against the rally now? All right. Well, generally speaking, all right, just about anybody to everybody who's ever defended against rallies probably always had one or two things that have always kind of come up to mind. Okay, problem number one, right? Whenever you get hit by a rally in particular, there are those that are right beside you, then you got those that are about a minute out, or some that are in between. But whatever the case may in fact be, here are some of the couple of things that you should do as someone who's in a situation that you are being rallied in. So to begin with, all right, the icon that comes up here when you're being attacked, all right, is going to be your key to success here. All right, because so essentially what you're gonna do, regardless of what you're aiming for, all right, is that every rally that has ever been done since dawn of time, they are usually sending one, two, not usually three unit types. Now there are some circumstances where that happens, but very seldom happens. All right, and most of the time they're gonna try and counter whatever gear you've got on. So if you're wearing, let's say I make something that's just stupidly simple to point out. All right, if I was to say, go out into the map looking like this, I can tell you right now the only thing they're going to send at me is infantry. All right, now part of the reason why they do that is because essentially they can look at you right away and they can say, oh yeah, he's using range gear, therefore he's probably a range player, and therefore he's probably a range phalanx. Therefore I will send infantry. All right, that's the extent of that logic. All right, now it doesn't mean it's perfect, no, but what that does mean is that 9 times out of 10, all right, if you switch your gear last minute, all right, what are you going to send? Are you going to send range? Are you going to send cavalry? Are you going to send infantry? What is it that you're going to send? Well, it's going to change depending on who you're up against, but 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to want to go cav. All right, now obviously some of you guys out there have wondered, what the heck is the deal with the wedges? All right, I'll get into that here in a bit, but I'll explain it more here in just a second. But basically, all right, phalanxes in general just generally do more damage than the wedges do. All right, now the wedges, have kind of a difference in the formation line, and we'll get into it here in a bit. But essentially, all right, you're going to want to counter with that whatever they're sending. All right, now usually, all right, in advance, okay, if you've got control of the situation, you're going to 9 times out of 10, you're going to make sure that you got that anti-scout on, all right? So if you don't have this anti-scout on, and they know what you've got in your base, you have already kind of messed up, all right, because they know exactly what to send, and they know exactly what you have. Now, that's not exactly a good thing, but here's how to remedy the situation if, in fact, they know what your composition is, all right? Essentially, you need to be weary of, the fact that if you're in range gear, they're probably going to send infantry, and therefore you need cavalry, and that means that what you should be asking for reinforcements is cavalry. I don't want to see infantry in here. I don't want to see range in here. I just want to see nothing but cavalry. All right, and the reason being you want to do that is because essentially what that's going to do for you is that if you're in cav phalanx, all right, your team, your guild mates are going to take the blunt hit for the most part of that hit, and you're going to avoid taking an enormous loss on your own. All right, because this is the problem with taking your allies to begin with, is that you're often going to find yourself in a situation where you're really not going to be able to defend against it. And this is why when you want to actually defend a rally, okay, what you're ultimately aiming to do is avoid taking any losses. And if you're taking losses, you need to work on the actual formation, and you need to be very careful with how you're going about approaching it. So I'll have another video explaining gear and every itty-bitty intricate little detail that there is about gear in this game. But the easiest, quickest explanation for this for now, all right, is that essentially if I'm going to be in range gear, he's going to go infantry, I need to be in cavalry gear. And that means that what you're going to do is ultimately, by the time that rally starts, you're going to want to switch your gear. And you want to switch your phalanx. All right, now that you've done that, okay, now what? Well, obviously, you can start adding boosts. So, first of all, if you've got an attack boost, pop it. If it's a 50, that's up to you. Honestly, if you want my honest opinion, if you feel that the rally leader, and this is incredibly important for just about any rally since the dawn of time, all right, is if it's a tier 3 rally, okay, and let's suppose you've got, say, up to par research, okay, that's assuming that most of your research in here is up to 8, 9, and preferably 9, okay, and that you can go over here, you can click on this, and you can see that your stats are doing somewhere close to this. All right. I would say my recommendation then is you need to be you got to evaluate what your enemy is using. So if he's using cavalry gear and he's sending infantry, that's probably not a good sign. Okay, because that means he probably is about to switch gear or he's not doing something right. All right. Having that said, okay, it does happen from time to time, and this is why that when you see that little indicator, you need to be very wary of what they're sending. Now, oftentimes, 9 times out of 10, if it turns out that what they're sending is in fact in what counter that you've asked for reinforcements, the only other option that you have at your disposal at this point is you're going to have to basically panic. And that means that if you can shield. If you can't shield, then you need to shelter. And then what you need to do is take the 2 million or so troops you've got, and you need to start reinforcing people, or, and this is my preferred method, is you go out, find a darkness, put a rally, 8 hours, and then send your troops. And you notice I got 300k, not 250k, so make sure you get that if you haven't already. In case you're wondering how exactly you get that, you just go down here, go into your military command branch, and you're going to want to get something called, it's called Darkness Invasion. You want to get this, it's pretty helpful, but essentially you stack that on, and then join any open darkness rallies. And again, I recommend doing this in your guild if you haven't already, because again, it'll save your skin once in a while. Obviously, if you ever get in that situation. But now, if you really do, in fact, plan on eating this rally, right, and you really do want to defend against this rally, the first thing that I recommend you definitely need to keep in consideration here is the rally leader is he a tier 3 player? Is he a tier 4 player? And you need to be able to, determine if, is he an infantry range or cavalry? If you can't tell just by looking at his gear, you have a serious problem. You got to be able to look at somebody and tell me, oh, that's research gear. And then you got to look at this guy and tell me, okay, this is not so great gear. But then if you look at like somebody like this, and then you're like, oh, okay, just based on this, he's using something that's kind of mixed, and you don't know. That happens. Because like I said, why I point these 3 different kinds of examples out there is that all 3 of them you're going to experience and you're ultimately going to run into. And what you're going to want to do is prepare for the worst. And a lot of the time, if anything, guys, if you want my honest 2 cents, pick whatever unit stat you can essentially increase the attack on the most. Because that's really what's going to save your skin in the end. Obviously, if you're really low in whatever unit type you have the most attack in, you're probably going to have a little bit of an issue. Alright, most of the time, a full 2 million plus troop rally, alright, assuming it has no tier 4 in it, and it's just purely tier 3, you're usually, okay, as a tier 3 player, you're going to be usually okay, so long as you've got at least 2 million or so total tier 3 with another, I recall it's like 1.5 million or something akin to that in tier 1s. That's usually enough that you'll be okay. But the big thing here is that you want to avoid essentially running into a circumstance where, whatever they do in fact send, say it's 2 million of all one unit type, you need to be able to counter that. So in the perfect world, if they're sending 2 million of whatever unit type, you better have 3 million plus of whatever to counter it. And that's why it's so important that if you do have a rally, you need to be in the phalanx that is in counter to whatever they're sending, because that is what's going to ultimately lead to a better victory. But mind you, that if you are, getting a million plus reinforcements, all right, make sure that when you switch that phalanx, that those are the same units that you have for reinforcements. Because if you do not do this, then you will not receive the reinforcements as the front line, and therefore your army will be taking attrition instead. Because most of the time, those reinforcements are only as good as you use them. So just be really wary of this, because otherwise it will come back to haunt you. Otherwise, needless to say, that is pretty much it when it comes to defending against a rally. Of course, I know there is a lot out there that I left out because, again, there's a lot to talk on this subject. But, just to give you kind of a brief overview of what I feel that you should do, and this is just a quick checklist, all right, is that what you want to make sure you do is pop your boosts, make sure that you got your talent set up to whatever the heck you got to have set up. Make sure you've got your fake gear, aka the gear that you know how to counter in. All right, and then switch your war gear when that actual rally starts. Make sure that you're in the proper phalanx to counter whatever you see up here. And again, if you've only got 5 or 6 seconds, you better do it quick. Otherwise, you're going to have some problems. But again, making sure that your embassy is matching whatever you change it to. Second, and this is maybe the most important entire part to defending a rally, is to communicate with your guild. Because if you, for some reason, decide to bail, the people that garrison you and reinforce you in any circumstances are going to get kicked out. And therefore, you need to be able to remind and communicate with your members what they were sending and what troop type they were in when they sent it. Because what that ultimately will mean for future attacks is that usually they tend to stay in the same phalanx. Now, that doesn't always happen, but it usually does. And so it's very important that you communicate with your guild. And last but not least is obviously make sure to pop that anti-scout after the rally has landed. Otherwise, you will get scouted and you might wind up finding yourself in a situation where you're getting rallied again. So without further ado, though, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any more tips and suggestions that I haven't already mentioned for defending against a rally, feel free to post them in the description of the comment section below. And, needless to say, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.